Are you ready? Here we go. Today's episode of Wine Time Fridays is brought to you in part by our friends at CDA Gourmet, Pilgrim's Market, and Revora.
It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil and a guest on this Friday, November 14, episode 291. Shelley, have you got your bell ready today? Happy Friday. It's wine time. Heck yes, today we have with us, and we've been talking about this for over 2 months, working up to this. We have Chris Upchurch with Upchurch Vineyard. Chris, welcome to Wine Time Fridays.
Thank you. Also DeLille Cellars.
I have got, so we had DeLille Cellars on just wines. We didn't have anybody from. It was during harvest, so it was tough. In August we had probably 4 or 5 wines from DeLille. Our listeners know how much we love DeLille. I fell in love with D2, and it's not changed. And I met Greg Lill years ago, probably in 2010 at Vapiano during a bloggers conference, and have always loved the wines of DeLille. We were finally able to feature those this year, and we're getting back on and have somebody from the winery as well. But the co-founder of DeLille,
and founding winemaker and partner at DeLille. I'm really proud of DeLille, and what we've done there is amazing. D2, I got pictures all over the place of me underneath a D2 Margaux sign, D2, the Rue de Vin in Bordeaux, and we've created a lot of cool things there. But also, DeLille's gotten pretty large.
Yes.
And so I have a whole crew there. I go to meetings now. But basically, the crew does an amazing job, I think. And it's also allowed me to do this special project, which I think all winemakers, sooner or later, want to do their own little thing and Tay and I own all of Upchurch.
Yeah.
So, we get to do what we want. It's a small, about 5,000 cases.
I was going to ask how many cases do you guys
about 5,000 cases of small lots of, state wines and other wines in Red Mountain. I've always been just a total advocate for Red Mountain and spread it across the world. How much of a ground crew wine-growing region it really is. And
Red Mountain is a special place. It's
the best place in Washington, especially for cab. And we were able to get this 20-acre site, which Tay had taught me in the beginning and started on estate winery, which we've developed since then. And so that started in 2007.
She's from Holland.
Yeah, she's Dutch. She's a pretty Dutch girl. So, it's been a miracle ever since, really. Our first vintage of the cab was 2010, and it got 95 points from Parker.
Okay.
And I know scores are all nebulous, but at the same time, having the first vintage, I pat myself on the back and say I'm a genius. But the truth is,
a little bit more confirming, right?
Yeah, but the truth is, it's a great site.
Sure.
And it only says that we've got nothing but great things ahead of us. And we got our first 100-point wine last year, and everything's been. People ask me, what's it like? I said, it's pretty cool. I mean, we can put any kind of thing in stores that we want, but it's still kind of cool.
We just opened for the first time, the first vintage, yes, of this 2024 Chenin Blanc. I'm going to put that right there. And let's have a proper Wine Time Fridays toast as we start getting into some of these wines from Upchurch Vineyard to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, romance,
Big time romance.
peace on earth, yes. Cheers. Thank you so much, Chris. And we're going to toast Brent, who's lurking behind over there, too.
Hiding in the back.
So Chenin Blanc, I've always been, what I know about Chenin Blanc is it's a noble grape. It's one of the great grapes of the world. It's just been buried in the American market in particular because of Cru Chenin Blanc. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that.
Oh,
Cru Chenin Blanc was the #1 variety in America. They made a boatload of it, and of course it was inexpensive, and it was
I think it was like $4.35.
yeah, something like that, and it had some residual sugar, and easy to drink, but it was nothing special. And so that was the face of Chenin Blanc here in America for so long. Not only that, it really affected Loire too, because Loire saw how much money and how much wine was sold.
right.
And they said, well, they opened their borders, extended their borders in Vouvray, they extended the yields, they added some sugar into some of their wines and all this stuff. And next thing you know, you got Vouvrays and not Vouvrays anymore.
Right.
But you know, I've spent a lot of time in Loire, and there's a lot of things that first of all, I know that there are some, you know, like you have, and some that still make great wines, but also that it's the birthplace of Nicolas Joly, who's you know, biodynamics, and
Right.
that's where he started that whole holistic kind of approach to wine growing. And although I don't use biodynamics, I recognize it as, I mean, when DRC uses biodynamics, it's got to be a pretty good way to make grapes, you know, and other important, you know, Alsace everywhere is doing biodynamics now. So I recognize that even though we sustainably farm ours and they're certified sustainable, recognize that it's a great thing. And on top of it, now the Loire Valley is kind of the spearhead for natural wines. People don't know that. They know that, but the pet nats and the natural wines are focused on there because Nicolas Joly started this whole thing.
It's a real beautiful way to make wine too, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the sustainable. We actually have our wine word of the week is sustainable. We did it once before, but knowing how important that is for your winery and for you, it just seemed like a good word to bring back up. You know.
Well, real fortunate that we bought raw land. When you get raw land on Red Mountain, you know you're going to be able to grow Cabernet there, but you're also going to be able to do it naturally because you're starting from ground up doing sustainable farming. You don't have to fix anything. A lot of people don't know that in France they torched their vineyards in the 60s from DDT and all that. Well, back then it was the miracle product, right? DDT and all that. They didn't know any better, like we didn't know any better.
No.
But then so instead of growing grapes naturally, first they had to repair the grapes. And that's where the whole green growing and biodynamics, replenishing and replacing the nitrogen and everything in your vineyards. But we don't have to do that in Washington. It's all new vineyards. And so it is. So at any rate, knowing that Chenin Blanc is a great grape and knowing that it's exploding in Loire Valley and other places, I've always wanted it because it's a fantastic grape. It's unique in the world. It has
delicious.
Well, it has minerality and all those things. It also has sometimes a chamomile kind of nuance to it and other spices. It's got broad shoulders for a white wine too. We call it candy wax kind of. You know, it's like you remember the lips and all that.
Oh
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's got that kind of mouthfeel sometimes too. And on top of it, it's just a fantastic white wine that got good acidity, good structure, everything else when it's made right.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to take a shot at it. We started seeing some of that in the vineyards. You know, the vineyards in Washington are starting to diversify more because we can grow a lot of things, but also, you know, people are getting tired of Chardonnay and stuff like that. And well, what do we grow?
This is so good. Is this 100% then?
Yes.
Nice.
It's a single vineyard Chenin Blanc.
Nice. It's really, really good. I could go on, but every time I open my mouth, you know, Sud comes out. and then we have Chris on to listen to him, right? So,
Great. Yeah. And so we made like 250 cases or something. We'll make more, but it's just like I said. I know that it's a noble drink, and if we can turn everybody into all, people come up to me and say, "I don't drink white wine."
they just haven't had the right one.
Well, and they don't understand. First of all, they probably are talking about a mediocre California Chardonnay, which I don't drink either. Second of all, they haven't experienced the Verdejos and the Chablis and the Chenin Blanc and all that. The millions of white wines, and Fruity and all these other places that I've had the opportunity to have. And so the bottom line is that the more and more we get these people in our tasting room and say, well, I only drink red wine. And said, well, you haven't had all of it. You really need to try this. Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's the way it goes.
That's so funny.
I only drink Cabernet.
Yeah, sure.
We are actually recording at Studio 107 here in Riverstone. They moved from downtown Sherman in May to this location. Actually a smaller footprint, but it's a little wider and not as deep. And they've been killing it down here. So huge thanks to Trish and Tom at Studio 107 here for letting us occupy a table. And you can see behind is very cool. Come down to Studio 107 and visit. Chris, we're going to go into wine number 2, and I'm not sure which one you want us to do here. What are you thinking?
Well, we could do.
Oh, well, there you go.
We could do the LTL. This is kind of our entry Cabernet. It's 100% Red Mountain Cabernet. It's mostly from our vineyard that we didn't use in the flagship wines because when we do our blended trials, we like certain blends. Not that there aren't fantastic grapes, because they are, but when you build a wine, you might want 10 barrels of this, 4 barrels of that, and so forth. And so this is some of the barrels that are also part of the Upchurch Vineyard. The LTL name is kind of embarrassing. It means larger than life.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it's my daughter. The bottom line is that I was interviewed by the Chenin magazine out of England, and they called me larger than life. And my daughter hasn't left that good.
Yeah, daughters will do that.
Hey, LTL, And then when we did to do this wine, she wanted to call it LTL, and I didn't want to do that. But at the same time, in my age, well, not only that, but you got to start listening to younger people. With the new market and everything, you got to start listening to them a little.
And wine sales in the younger generation is actually dipping a little bit. So they just again haven't had the right wine. I feel we'll get them. We'll get them. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I call it neo-prohibition 4. It's like we've been through this, but you can't replace the experience.
Yeah, you're right
You
about
can take
that.
drugs, you can do a lot of other things, but sit around the table and drink your wine. You can't, from all over the world, you can't, they're not going to, people are going to still want to do it.
It's conversations.
Nice dinner.
Are you going to nurse your Chenin Blanc? Or do you want to?
No, we can keep going.
Okay, here we go.
So this is the LTL. It's cab, 100% cab. It's all French oak. 50% of it is new. And it's, again, mostly from our vineyard, although there might be scraps of other companies. It's all Red Mountain.
Yep.
Red Mountain, because I've been working with Blanc and UV for 33 years. I not only know all the sweet spots there and all the people there, and all the growers and everything, that they know me, and I pretty much get my way from being with Delel.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, it helps to put in that time, have that successes, and then you got a little fun, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
We've had Charlie Hoppus on, Fidelitas. We've also had Shay Fichette, 2 fabulous wineries in Red Mountain, and it's not a big AVA. Y'all kind of probably know each other fairly well. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie and I have been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, we make different styles of wine. But, you know, he's like me, he believes in Red Mountain, all over the world, and just let everybody know that is a wine.
It really is.
That's, you know, that's all I've ever wanted. All I've ever wanted is to be in the same sentence as Bordeaux or somewhere else. You know, every once in a while I get a winemaker, oh, we're better than them. No, you're not. No, in fact, you're stupid. But I do believe that, we can be in the same sentences.
There's no question.
We can make wines. Like I said, we got our first 100-point wine last year, so, and you know, like, you know, scores are what they are, but at the same time, it's kind of saying, yeah, we're doing wines like this.
Doing something good.
Yeah, we're doing something good here, and so it's just about you know taking our place in the world as a Blanc. And that's what I've been doing for you know, I've traveled all over the world. I really have been to every round through wine growing region in the world. And you know, at the end of the day, this is what I brought to Washington State. It's just kind of a connection between the fine winemakers and everybody's doing. It's a part of our development. I can't do everything that they're doing. Some things I can do that they can't do. I mean, they don't irrigate. I talked to Paul Battaglia at Chateau Margaux, and all I want to do is talk about drip irrigation, because he can't do it. Right?
Oh, is that right? Isn't that funny?
Yeah, and
What now? So why can't they? It's because of
illegal.
the. Oh, it's illegal.
Irrigation all throughout Europe, particularly France, is illegal.
Is that because of the water usage or because that's not how they do it?
Well, it's water usage for sure.
But drip doesn't. Drip
But
is
it's-
so efficient.
But it's also kind of the terroir concept
Oh yeah.
but 9 out of 10 winemakers love to use it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Because he basically what he said is, so let me get this straight. You have drip irrigation, right? And I said, yeah, of course. And he said, so you drip drops on the ground. Yeah, that's it. And he said, and so you can do it when you want to,
For how long? You
for
want
how long you want to, at the time of the day, and you can do it in one block but not the other block, so forth and so on.
And it doesn't evaporate.
And he says, that's right. It doesn't get everything wet, so there's no mold or mildew.
Right.
And he said, so you're kind of playing God a little.
Oh my goodness.
You know, you kind of just do it when you want it. It rains when you want it to rain, and it gets wet when you want it to get wet for as long as you want it to. I said, that's right. You know what he said? He said, sweet.
I mean, isn't it good to have control when you can?
Yeah, well, you know,
And still, it's no
you
guarantee.
still don't have control.
No, you know, I had those cold spring
And I think
days.
there's some thought of pumping up the grapes, you know, irrigation. And I mentioned that to him. I said, well, you know, I know you have some laws because of terroir and because of pumping up the grapes. He said, yeah, but Blanco would never do that. I said, no, Dilla wouldn't either.
No, but when you're doing that, doesn't it take away from the quality of the grape as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
mean,
they
why
would
would
never
you
do that. I mean,
No.
you know, Margot's probably worth close to $1 billion. I know the tour's worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it's a heritage site and all that stuff. You know, you'd be stupid to ruin the quality in any way you could. And he would never do that. I mean, he's one of the great winemakers. He's passed now. He's one of the great winemakers in the world. And so for him to sit there and be kind of tied by not being able, didn't make much sense then. But you know, it's a different place. And
You know, in Europe, it's so concentrated on the terroir.
yeah,
And
Which is
that
good.
is their, yeah, that is. It's great. And those laws restrict a lot of what they can do. That doesn't mean that our market, the domestic wines, have to do the same thing. You can still honor your terroir,
yeah.
but also take advantage of having some fun and playing around with it.
Yeah,
Right?
well, first of all, you got to discover what your terroir is, and you can't do that by just
Right.
copying somebody else.
Right.
And also, you know, terroir is a fleeting thing. Not all things. I mean, you could say all vineyards have terroir, but really, to me, terroir is an identifier, and a lot of vineyards don't identify themselves as any different from any other vineyard.
Right.
And then there are also some vineyards that their terroir isn't any good. You can say, oh yeah, that's terroir. It sucks, you know.
I'm not gonna lie. When I moved to North Idaho, the first thing I did was look into some grapes that we can grow, maybe make our own wine. Concord. There you go. I'm like, I don't like grape juice that much.
Yeah. So I mean, the bottom line is that they have their own thing, and what they've achieved over the years is amazing. And I just, like I said, in Washington State, I wanted to do my part to be in the same sentence as all these other great. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's Margaret River, Austria, or whatever. These guys have hundreds of years of experience. How do we get there?
Right.
That's the biggest question. First of all, you got to ask yourself, because they make wine in all 50 states, and trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of states are not going to get there.
Well, they make wine, but do they grow grapes and all 50?
Yeah.
That's the question.
They do that too. There's even some poor guy in North Dakota trying to make wine. You know, he's using hybrids and all that.
Sure.
But the bottom line is that there's only a few places that are going to make Blanc.
Yeah.
But Washington is one of them. I truly believe in that. And so therefore, if that's true, then how do we get there? And that's been kind of
You're getting there.
well, we are. You know, and it's the
There.
well,
Yeah, for sure.
some people.
For sure.
Part of the problem is that we still have our lawyers and guys that come in and say, I'm going to make wine. But the guys that know what they're doing are really starting to really soar. And it's incredible. I've just been really lucky to see all this, you know, over the 30 years. I remember, you know, working with Bob Benson. You know, he tells a story of when he was in D.C., you know, they were asking him what side of the Potomac they were on, because we were Washington, right?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That old story. And it's true. My partner, Jake Soloff, was always pushing Washington State wine. And it was a chore. Now we're finding that it's easier than ever.
Back
We
when you
still-
were in the restaurant?
Back when we started the Lil.
Oh.
We started the Lil.
Yeah,
So
I
I was
remember.
reading a story that involves a rotary dog.
Oh yeah, that was Greg and Jay were part of, my partners were part of Rotary.
John and I are both Rotarians.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, Jay and Greg were both Rotarians, and I knew Jay from the restaurant business. And so they went, and Greg's dad was well-to-do. He was Czech. He was well-to-do. And he had some property in Woodinville, an old chateau and everything. You know, he needed to do something with the property. Jay was a salesman for wine, and Greg was a business person. And so they decided, they called me up and said, you want to make wine for the grill? I said, yeah. So we became partners. And Charles, Greg's dad, financed it. And we were 4 years apart. That's how the got started, through Rotary. That's right. We used David Lake. I don't know if you ever knew David Lake's name. He was one of the founding winemakers. He was at AVA Columbia Winery, and the Masters of Wine, and also helped develop Red Willow. So anyway, that was back then. And he helped us get some grapes, and we worked it from there.
So the
Made
first,
1,400 cases the first year.
That's a lot.
yeah.
That's not much.
But the first,
So the first
We
wine,
thought it was a lot.
the first wine we had, the Chenin Blanc, $38 at the winery. The LTL 2021, $38 at the winery. We are venturing into an AVA within an AVA. Am I right about that? Candy?
Candy Mountain it's an AVA right next to Red Mountain.
Right next to. Okay.
And the story behind this is that it was raw land, and one of my favorite growers, Marshall from Shaw, they had bought property. It's a tiny AVA. It's very similar, same climate, same orientation. Just about everything was the same as Red Mountain. Except when I went in and looked at it, there was clay in the soil. And clay isn't it's kind of rare in Washington State, not a lot of clay. But what I know is clay is essential in palm oil in the right bank of Bordeaux. In fact, if
So
you
you
go,
were excited?
yeah, I was excited. We go to Figeac. Figeac's one of the Grand Crus there, and when you go there, one of their walls in their cellar they left blank. So you can see the clay streaks all throughout.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool. And so I said, Marshall, you got to plant. You know, Washington State's pretty much up. So I thought this would be really cool. So he planted Merlot for me there. And, they own it. We're getting grapes from it. And I just think that, and this wine you have right now is from 6-year-old vines.
Oh my gosh,
So
really?
very young vines, and it's already, producing some really great flavors. So a few more years, a little bit more structure, a little bit more dynamic, structure, then I think it'll be incredible.
This is one of those wines that
You just want
I just want to smell it. I mean, we don't have the time for me to just smell this without tasting it, but this has got a great. We did an Old World versus New World episode last week because International Merlot Day was the 7th of November, and we opened a right bank Bordeaux, Old World, and then we did a Saint Michel New Ridge Merlot, which was they're both in the 40s in terms of price and vastly different. And it's just so interesting, But that's what I found out.
Pomerol's unbelievable. It's just, we were there again last year at Pavi and a couple other places. And that's what I was talking about. This is what we, not the same, but the quality of this level.
Still very young. This is 3 years old.
poison berry.
Yeah. I mean, this, I'm guessing, was built to lay down a good decade.
Oh, all my wines. We had our 92 Chaleur, my first Chaleur stayed red the other day. So 33 years old, whatever. And it had all the secondary notes, the leather and the faded roses and all that you expect out of wine. It was beautiful. So the wines that I make are all balanced. They're all structured to the point where, they're not over the top, uber ripe wines. Don't make those. I'll leave that for Australia.
Yeah, for sure. Delil, you did a Chaleur Blanc, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Brent knows Ed Holmes very well. In fact, I think it may have been Ed that gave me Brent's contact information for this episode.
Uh-huh.
And he also said, kick Brent in the butt for me. He did say that, but that's it. But their 5th edition at J. Bookwalter is based off of that Chaleur Blanc.
Yeah, I know those
love.
guys.
Yeah.
We eat there.
Yeah, and they've got such a great thing going. Not to divert away, but I just had to name drop that.
So that brings us to the, we don't have the Southwest Basin. Our wine,
Sauvignon Blanc.
yeah, it's really great. It's, I didn't want to make a white Bordeaux because I do that as well. So instead, I made a straight Sauvignon Blanc. It's done in the Cemente. It's early, and it's European style, but really, one of the things I know is that some of the great Sauvignon Blancs of the world come from Austria, down on the southern border. Not from the Wachau where the Bloomers are, but down south there's an area called Styria. That's right on the border of, what is that, Slovakia or whatever is on the border there of Austria. They are amazing wine, amazing Sauvignon Blancs. And so I went there, of course, road trip, right?
Yeah.
And the wines were amazing. They were doing all these great Sauvignon Blancs. They were doing it in the big old. I can't get big olds, but I can get the cement days.
Yeah.
And they were all at least 18 months. Certainly.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're a 2-year wine, which is expensive, but that's what I wanted to do. It turned out to be a fabulous wine. That we do at the little, and it's from Dick Boucher's vineyard.
Okay.
Which, because the whites, Red Mountain isn't perfect for whites. But his vineyard up in Yakima Valley is much better for whites. And I helped him a little bit. I mean, I don't have 10 hours on the track, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I helped him with the clonal selections and some of the other things of this vineyard, so I felt a little bit akin to the vineyard. So when we wanted to do it white, that was the white.
Slovakia. I was told there would be geography in this episode. This Merlot is freaking awesome. It's fantastic. Off air, I said, kind of selfishly was hoping we would taste this one. Candy Mountain AVA is
Brand
pretty new. Yeah, we have a year or two old.
Well, a couple of years.
Okay, the Rocky Reach came and then Candy Mountain. Is that how that
Something
worked?
like that.
Yeah. There's just so many sub AVAs around Washington right now.
There really is a lot, and maybe a couple that are maybe shouldn't be there, and then there's a couple that
God, that is
aren't
good.
there that should be there.
Yeah.
I mean, Walla Walla is a great example of
Yeah.
a place that should be maybe 5 or 6, 8.
Yeah, really.
You know, you go, the Rocks is at least 20 or 30 miles away from the.
Not for survival.
Yeah, survival.
At least 20 or 30 miles from the Blue Ridge where Bay High is and all that. That's my favorite area, where Bay High is. And then,
They have beautiful crops.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then over on, like Pepper Ridge, that's another 30 miles away from that.
Yeah.
Pepper Ridge is a northern slope. So Pepper Ridge is really different
Yeah.
and should be its own area. And then Loudon, where Rick Small is, that's a long ways away. So the bottom line is these are all, but Red Mountain is one small AVA. You walk from one end to the other, the slope is the same.
Is that right?
Yes, I mean, you can see it, and you can see that it is it's like a Jiri Chambertin, the small AVA is right in front of you, and the slope is the same. Obviously, the weather and everything is the same. There can be swirls in the soil and other things that differentiate different vineyards, but the overall aspect of it is the same. Whereas, and that's why I think it really excels is that you plant Cabernet in the Red Mountain area, you're going to like it.
So I'm pivoting real quick, Shelly, because I believe that Counterpart is also Merlot. This is the one you have in the glass. Let's do a little side by side. What do you think about that?
So the real difference, well, first of all, this is a steak. But the real difference is that 17-year-old vines.
Versus 6.
Versus 6.
And I think that this is getting the structure that I'm talking about.
Okay.
This is getting the Bordeaux structure where, it's more than just an open, full fruit Merlot. It's got the structure and everything that makes Merlot really great when it is. I think this one's working towards it every year that I make it. It just seems to be a little bit more structured. I think it's getting there, and it's a matter of taste too, because you might like it more.
Bottom line, isn't it about taste, right? What you like.
Sure.
This one just was open, so it's clearly tighter than this. But both 100%?
Yeah, this one's
Counterpart?
always 100%. This one, we're doing the blended trials. There's been times, like the, which one we just did? We just did the 24 blend. And, no, the 23 blend, this bottle. And that one I put 9% Cab.
So this is
They'll
the
never have a lot.
Right. This is the Counterpart here, the UV Counterpart, and this is the Canning Mountain right here. How is it? I know, it really is. What about the 25 harvest? We're out of it now, right? Yeah. They're they're crushed in the barrels, and how are?
I like it a lot. I'm really pleased. It started out kind of up and down. We weren't sure about. It was compressed, which is a pain in the ass in the cellar, but because everything's coming at you all at once. Right. But we handled it, and as it turned out, you always look for that one lot that's not perfect. And it never came. Every lot was really solid. We're looking for some great ones. Everything about it, wasn't an uber right. At first, it looked like it was going to be a warm year, but it slowed down, and so nothing was uber right. We didn't get anything that no jammy.
Yeah.
Everything. We had a lot of wines that came in at 24 and 25. Kind of the perfect brightness. It was just really excellent.
We're going to take one break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up with one more bottle. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil and Chris Upchurch with Upchurch Vineyard and, well, the Little Cellars. Among our favorite, really, I'm not even saying that, it is absolutely true. Episode 291 on this November 14th. My goodness, Christmas is in 5 weeks. Okay then, way to bring us down, Phil. We just finished back-to-back Merlots, Candy Mountain. Did we talk enough about the UV Counterpart?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. I think it's one of the best Merlots in the state. And also, Anthony Mueller said the same thing. He said at the Advocate, he said it's the best Merlot in the state. And again, it for me, it's because I know that Merlot should have structure. All the negative things that you hear about Merlot is all it's flabby, and usually it's about California Merlots, and also it's about Merlots that are made to be drunk early. But wine has to be delicious. I mean, I have this plaque on my desk at my home that says, "Don't forget about delicious." Yeah. And it's not just wine with chefs. And, they might even the dish that has sea urchin and pink peppercorns and rutabaga. And I mean,
what would you carry that?
And you try it and you go, well, that's interesting, Which of course it's kind of like a date. Interesting as a kiss of death.
Yeah, I got that a lot when I went out as a kid. Yeah. Oh, it's been an interesting. Yeah. So what are you doing tomorrow? I'm busy.
But at any rate, you kind of go, you forgot about delicious. Yeah. You've been in wine like food and everything else. It should just be delicious. And I think there's a savory umami kind of character that has to be part of the equation too. Is that and I think that this Merlot does have really solid structure and savoriness to it.
Okay. The last one we've got is the 2021 Upchurch Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon. They're your signature, yes?
Flagship cab.
Flagship cab. It's about $90. I'm sorry, if you're coming in with a flagship cab at $90, that's really good.
Yeah, everybody tells me I should raise the prices. Well, in this market, if I could get $90 for all my wines.
Yeah, of course. That's the problem. everything is market driven ultimately, right? You got to find a sweet spot. It doesn't matter. We've had wines that are $60 that taste like $150, or are $60 and taste like $10 swill. Okay, it's what you like, and then now will the market support that? I mean, bottom line, right? And so, tell us a little bit about this Cab Sauv that I'm excited to drink while you're talking.
Well, it's all about the vineyard, really. I don't know if I mentioned, but the first vintage we pulled out of this got in '95 in the park. That's some 3-year-old wines.
Yeah, wow.
And that tells you that, I mean, I like to say how great I am, but that tells you really how great the vineyard is, if they can do
The
that.
dirt is great.
And so from then on, it's just all about, yeah, we know how to take care of it, we know how to do everything we need to do, but the bottom line is it's all about the single vineyard and how great Red Mountain is and how great, and how can we make them so that they're balanced, they're structured, they're complete, and they're delicious. And that's my job, I mean, it's what it is.
Like, not screw it up, right?
Yeah,
It's easy to screw up a good vintage and all that stuff. It's a lot more difficult to make a bad vintage good, but you just don't want to be on that first one, which is screwing up good vintage. And
they don't give me a second chance,
Not really.
Oh, yeah, they don't sit there and say, yeah, you screwed up this year, but go for it next year.
I mean, really, we get one shot.
Every year.
And that's where all of these years of going to the vineyard and pulling the fruit and ripping it open and tasting what's inside during the course of the summer, after summer, after summer. What is it? It was Charlie Hoppus that said, yeah, we don't talk about years, we talk about vintages. This is our 13th vintage, this is our 35th vintage, and things like that. It's year after year, honing your skills so that when you do have something which is your own now, you're pulling all of those experiences. And
every time you plant a vineyard, you're learning from the last vineyard. And this is a blend of Clone 2 and Clone 191. 191 is the Bordeaux clone. It's I call it a liqueur clone. It's a purity of fruit clone that's great. Clone 2 is kind of an oddball. They call it an Oakville clone. So it's not FPMS. It's not a Cal Davis FPMS clone per se. I'm sure they've cleared it, but they call it an old Oakville clone, which to me means Napa Nook or Inglenook or one of the older wineries in Oakville, right? It's brought over some grapes and cleared it through. But anyway, it's Clone 2, and we've discovered through what we're doing that Clone 2 really not only soars, but we're finding more of a kind of a floral aspect to it, a lavender, and which kind of sets it apart a little bit for me. And so all the plots that I make wine at, this is our flagship, and I think it's, in France, if you're the same as the guy across the street from you, it's a sin. They hate that, everything's got to be different. I'm kind of the same way, I don't want to taste like the guy next to me.
No.
And I think this stands out on its own. So.
Which is why you're making Chenin Blanc instead of the Chardonnay.
Because I can't make a great Chardonnay. If I could make a Montrachet, and I'd be or a Chablis. I was in Chablis last year too, and oh man, the wines that were there were unbelievable. And the whole time I'm sitting there saying, if I could make a Chardonnay like this, I'd be so on it.
Yeah.
But there's some good Chardonnays in Washington State, and there's some guys that yell at me for saying this, but I don't think it's our best way.
I mean,
I
You have
don't.
to learn what is the best.
Yeah, but I think Cabernet and the Bordeaux varietals really good that, especially in Red Mountain. And Walla they're really looking at a lot of Syrah.
yeah.
And Syrah's really good there, We can make Syrah in Red Mountain, and they can make Cabernet there. I like going with some of the things. It's like in France. You think they could grow Syrah in Bordeaux?
I mean,
Of course they could.
they could, but that's not their wheelhouse.
It might be,
It just
it might
doesn't
be,
sound
it
right.
might, yeah, it doesn't, you're right. But they could, and it might even be really good.
Yeah,
Could they grow Cabernet in the Rhone? Probably.
yeah.
It might be really great.
Who knows?
But they've, over the centuries, just decided this is what we're really good at. Maybe that'll happen in Washington. I don't know.
It
We were
was,
up in Canada,
yeah.
and took dinner at, and they're, I think they're just beginning to really wet
They
Yeah,
brought-
I think it's white.
Oh, well, and so they're bringing in winemakers that are pretty good,
my.
which is very smart, right? And there was one, I forget the winery, the vineyard, but they had, they were growing, it was a Chardonnay,
Cabernet,
and about 100 yards apart was a Cabernet Sauvignon. That's the microclimate that they're dealing with there, is that close. I'm like, wow, that
Yeah, but
seems-
the thing to me is that one of them doesn't belong.
maybe. We were surprised, because we were there.
I can tell you it's probably the cat.
Could be.
But for me, for Okinawa in that area, the problem I have is that everybody wants to make a good cab, everybody wants to make a big red. They sell better, they get more prices and all that stuff. Everybody wants to do it. But what I know is that all throughout Europe, there are wine regions that are very proud, you know, whether it's Alsace or Montrachet or Chablis or, you know, and so many other places. Valencia, you go on forever. And all these places that are hanging their hats on wines, and they're great. And if I was in charge, which of course they don't call me master, but if I was in charge, I'd say, hang your hats on. I think some of the whites are really particularly good.
Like the Pinot Gris,
You know, really up there, they're Chardonnays, some of the Chardonnays are pretty good. You know, and they're just, like you said, they're kind of starting. And if I were them, Riesling's okay up there, you know, if I was them,
You'd be
Work on the
surprised.
whites.
The Pinot surprised us. It was really interesting, you know? But then, you know, going off the beaten path a little bit is okay. Down in Napa, you got Massicum. Says, we're not going to do reds. We're going to do Italian white varietals that are really good here. And he's like carved this niche.
well, that's the thing, they're really good.
Yeah. And
That's
so,
all that matters.
I know, but it's funny because it's like, you can't grow white grapes. This is Napa Valley. And it's like, well, I know Chardonnay, but these are really interesting grapes. And it proves you can look at the terroir and say, I think I can make this work. You know? And you go out and do it. Yeah, you gotta prove it, right? So,
Yeah, it's a long haul to show, to get to where you want to be. And for me, it's been 30 years. But for me, it's been Bordeaux blends and Bordeaux grapes and Red Mountain.
yeah.
And it's taken that long. It sure long. I actually went to my partners in '95 and said, I'm going to make a white Bordeaux from Washington State, and you guys have to go out and sell it. So they go around the country, right? And people, first of all, don't know what a white Bordeaux is.
Yeah, well, there's that.
They don't know what it is. Well, Bordeaux's a red, right? You know?
Red Bordeaux is
And then once they convince them that white Bordeaux is fantastic, why should I buy Washington State? You know? And then, but they did. And people loved it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just establishing. But it takes a long time. It's cool when you get there.
When did you first find out about, because you were, you know, DeLille, blah, 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 and all this, when did you first say, well, what is this Red Mountain place?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. Nice.
Yeah, what happened was I wanted to make a Bordeaux blend. Nobody was making Bordeaux blends. In California, it was Opus and Dominus and Can 5 and all that. But up here, nobody was doing it. Rick Small made one, but nobody was hanging their hats on it. I said, I want to be a Bordeaux blend house. I want all of our wines to be blends, where the whole is greater than the sum of the part. And there was a niche there, to be honest with you, that nobody was doing. And so what that meant to me was that I had to not only find some great Cabernet grapes, but I had to find some grapes that were a foundation wine, that were powerful and had a good, that I could layer warm layers of Merlot and, you know, kind of the spiciness of Cab Franc and things like that around this foundation of Cabernet. Took me right to Red Mountain. right away, bam, there's the powerhouse, the wine that has the structure and everything to it that I could put Merlot and other things around. And so our first year we got Cabernet from Red Mountain from CDA Vineyard. The Merlot was different places. We got a little bit from Red Mountain and actually a little bit from Gap, where the road properties are. But we quickly moved from there to Red Willow and to Red Mountain for our Merlots. Now their B2 is big enough that they're getting from the number.
Sure. Yeah.
But still skillfully blended.
It has to be. I mean, you still have that following.
Right.
We are about to wrap up, but what I want to do is I want to say the social web, Shelley, the social web wine word of the week is sustainable, which we kind of talked about. A method of grape growing that is ecologically sound, economically viable, and socially supportive.
Four cornerstones of sustainability are one, taking good care of the earth.
Yes.
Two,
Number one, yeah.
Number two, taking care of the workers. You see them with hazmat suits on, that's not cool, you know?
No.
That's how I get the old growers. And you see your son with the hazmat suit on, the first thing he says, well, I haven't done it yet. I said, yeah, you still want your son? No, I don't.
I guess I do.
The third is quality,
Yep.
because if you don't have quality, it doesn't matter. And the fourth is actually the business. If you're not at least breaking even, you're not to be sustainable.
Sure.
So those are the four cornerstones, and they're practical. You know, that you can understand it. You can understand that the property has to be sustainable and not be low impact. You can understand that your employees got to take care of them. Everything. So, you know, that's why I prefer that over other growing methods, although some other people choose other things. I get that. I get sustainable.
You're also salmon safe.
Yes, of course.
We didn't touch on that.
Well, that's part of the Northwest. You got to be salmon safe.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to put a bunch of crap into the rivers? The Columbia River is sacred.
Yeah, no, you know, we talked about terroir, which is important to, you know, other products don't have terroir. So we're out naturally more concerned about our plots and our land than potato growers.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we have a thing called terroir. For potato growers, it's, our terroir is item.
Which we ship all the potatoes everywhere else.
Which is great, but you know, it's a little bit more detailed.
Yeah.
But we can't get them.
No, they ship them out. It's like you can't get a Washington apple. Well, they stopped having apple orchards over there years ago. Some wines we enjoyed this week: a Cinder Chardonnay, J. Book Walter 5th edition. That's why I brought that up. It was fantastic. Shelley's birthday week if we did that. We had a Chateauneuf de Pop. Let's just keep it that. I can't pronounce these. A Sauvignon Malbec and a Via Antinore Toscana. I'm going to skip the announcements of what's coming up, except for next week we have Dave Hoffman with Total Wine, and we're going to talk about wines for the holidays. Yes, the holidays are on us. A big thanks to today's sponsors, CDA Gourmet, Pilgrim's Market, and Revore. I also wanted to shout out to Studio 107, Tom and Trish, for letting us record here. All of a sudden it's starting to get dark. We've got an event coming. Music is going to start any second. Any final thoughts, Chris?
Well, thanks for having me out here. I love, you know, like you said,
Yeah.
sending the word about Red Mountain and Upchurch Vineyard. And, you know, I love the market here. We're getting to the point where the big markets are so weird. It's so stale. When you come out to a market like Coeur d'Alene, everybody's excited. I noticed that everybody's kind of pumped on wine and kind of, you know, excited about doing things and enhancing everything. And whereas, you know, I mean, some of the big cities are cool, but really, I get to some, and it's not just here, it's Memphis or some of these other towns that aren't big cities, but the people in the wine industry are really pumping. I've seen that already.
It's a growing region. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate the time. Thanks, Brent, for making this happen. With a little bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Thanks for listening. Next week with David.
Wine for everybody.
Wine for everyone, and that's not a W-H-I-N-E. No, that wine. We want W-I-N-T. See you next week.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you, to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.